using, we need one of our laptops, so Ben's going to grab one of our laptops. Allison and Mariusz are going to come up front. No break, no break. No break. You know, so I know people have travel plans, so we want to make sure we end as close to on time as possible. So no breaks. I mean, unless you
Don't ask any questions.
We'll run through it quickly.
We have 53 slides.
all right. No, there are slides.
53 slides.
Only 53?
Yep.
All right. I'll be quick. Okay, so here, one for you. And I need one other. Gracias, gracias. I keep confusing my Italian and my Spanish.
Grazie, gracias, de nada. It's all good.
Nope. Yeah, road map. That was very smart of you, thank you. So that's not road mapping.
That would be my master slide. That's road mapping.
There you go. Okay. Well, just wait for him to plug it in first.
Yeah, okay.
Because it'll want to redraw the screen. There you go. No sound to this one, so we don't worry about sound.
Gonna need
Any power?
Yeah.
Up here.
Even for 45 minutes?
Yeah. Take this so I can run the adapter.
Good. Okay. So, got the adapter. All right. Oh, I hate his mouse. Okay. You do your thing, and we'll do that thing, and that thing you do. Voila.
Stand up.
All right. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. I promise there is, aren't there drinks at the end of this? Is there more alcohol? Okay. Well, that's good. We'll send you all out into the world feeling fine. So, you will notice these two esteemed gentlemen to my left, not in any particular order, but that's Abbottson and that's Mariusz, because I'm sure you know who each other is. We're going to be talking about roadmap. For the final session of the day, we're going to talk a little bit about the future and where the Z-Wave Alliance is headed. And so I've got a little bit of statistics for you. Of course, you all know who I am at this point. So, but this is also going to be very interactive. We did talk a little bit during the other sessions about the kinds of things that you feel are missing. Now this is really where you get an opportunity to put together your wish list. What are the kinds of things that you hope to see if everything was perfect and everything was beautiful and matter never existed in the world? What would you think would be in Z-Wave? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that once we go through just a little bit. We're going to take a very quick look back, very short look back, and then we're going to take a very serious look forward. So, as you can see, what does that top bullet say? Audience participation and engagement. This is the last session of the day. This is where you'll figure out which one of your chairs is actually wired. I got a clicker up here, and if I hit this button just right, you'll know. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a look about some statistics, the adoption data. We're going to talk about some underlying market trends, and then we're going to get a technical roadmap presentation from our two silicon providers and also our two technical leads at the Alliance. So, some data. 40.8 billion euro projected revenue in the smart home market in 2025. These all come from a group called Statista, so they're fairly reliable. We use Statista as well as other agencies, other groups within the Alliance. So the CAGR is 9%, which actually is a little bit steeper than the American CAGR, believe it or not. So the European CAGR is on an upward trend. I've heard many people say that the European market lags behind the US market by about 5 years. COVID obviously is going to disturb that trend, right? Because there was this acceleration during COVID that I'm not sure without a global pandemic you're going to feel. But if you sort of remove that anomaly, This means that the European marketplace is due for a pretty steep increase in adoption, right, in a projected market. And we're looking at almost 60 billion euro by 2029. So we're moving pretty fast. The smart home revenue, and we are talking about smart homes specifically because it's the market that we're in now. But obviously, as we look towards the future with Z-Wave long range and some of the other new technologies that we're embedding in the protocol, there are lots of different industries that we can start to look at, from energy efficiency, industrial efficiency, agricultural efficiency. So there's lots of other places that we can look. But obviously, because we've been in the smart home business for so long, it's what we understand really well, and it's the statistics that are most meaningful to the folks in this room. You'll notice that there's a pretty steep, that bottom is smart appliances. What I found interesting is that smart appliances is a real growth. We are working with the WEC, which is the Smart Appliance Alliance. That's not easy to say, Smart Appliance Alliance. There's a very fine gentleman from Korea who is in charge of it right now. I met with him in October in Munich at the at the Wireless Congress. And there's a lot of interest in not using Wi-Fi in smart appliances because they're concerned about people changing their routers and changing their devices and turning things off and upgrading, and then losing all the functionality because they don't know how to do things. So they really like the idea of these devices getting out directly. They also call themselves let me make sure I get this right, the Long-Term Alliance. Because all the products that they sell are long-term products, right? Most of us don't buy a new refrigerator every 2 to 3 years when the new technology comes out. We tend to keep our large appliances for long-term, which means that the resiliency of their networks has to be really, really strong, which is another reason why they like the idea of using something that's been around a long time. So, again, our folks at Statista have given us some really interesting numbers. 94 billion euro average revenue per, 94 euro, I can't spit that out, I don't know, $100, all right? Average revenue per installed smart home. And if you look at the trend, and I'm looking over at my friends at Shelley who like to drive prices in that direction instead of that direction, 100 euro actually represents quite a few devices at the retail level. And I noticed my favorite Frenchman has left the building, so I can say retail now without getting into too much trouble. But in the Pro channel, obviously, and what we're seeing very much in the American market, and it's starting to spread here as well with some of the new announcements that have come out in smart hubs, is that the Pro channel is growing as well. And obviously the revenue per device is a little bit higher, but the functionality and the stickiness, if you will, the consumer adoption of those devices tends to stick around much longer. One of the things that people sort of ignore when it comes to DIY is the idea that the product doesn't get used for a very long period of time. People outgrow them, outgrow the solution that or the problem that they have solved, and that's when they turn to a professional installation. The interesting part of the statistics is how many people buy a DIY to-ya product online, get used to the idea of having something automated, and then call a professional to come in and replace it and do a serious system. It's a very high number. It's like in the 70 percentile. So, categories. As you would imagine, the number one here, and it's a weird sort of breakout, is smart home. It didn't make any sense to me. The reason why I like this slide, though, is the trend lines are all going up, right? All the trend lines are going up. Security is going up. And security going up is an interesting one for me because traditionally in the European market, you don't have the kind of recurring revenue long-term contracts that we have in the American market. And so the security market has always been a little bit looser defined and a little bit harder to penetrate because Europeans don't have the mindset of needing security 24/7. You don't have all those boom, boom, bang, bang things that we have in America that are only growing in popularity. And then, of course, home entertainment, right? But comfort and lighting is definitely a growing trend as well. And that has a lot to do with energy management. So you can almost put comfort and lighting, energy management, hand in hand. because it's not just about the fact that we're going to save energy, but we still want to be comfortable in our own homes. Very few people are willing to give up their creature comforts in order to save energy, and so that balance has to be met between those devices, and that's really the sweet spot as to where Z-Wave is. So a little bit of market analysis, right? We've got convenience, energy efficiency, and security. Those have been themes that we've been talking about all day. The market trends, energy saving solutions are definitely gaining in popularity. Again, there's this little land war in Europe going on that has driven all the energy prices up. And so that really spurred along the concept again, even though the Europeans were way ahead of the Americans when it came to wanting energy efficiency and demand response for energy usage in their homes. This has really spurred it along. GDPR, we just heard a great presentation about data security and cybersecurity and regulations. We all now know that the European market is where regulations are created. It's the serious part, but that's going to also drive the trend. The one question, Leon, that you didn't ask that is very interesting to me is how many people are going to replace their devices now that there will be an added layer of security to them. So everybody has bought millions of devices, and there are millions of devices based out in the field. I'm curious how many people are now going to read all those articles and see all of that new information about cybersecurity and say, maybe those 3 plug-in modules should be replaced with something that's yeah, you're probably right, Douglas, but that's it's an interesting, it would be an interesting marketing exercise for a manufacturer to take, to go out to everybody and say, hey, all that old devices, all those old things that you have, there's new security standards now, right? They're safer, they're more convenient, they're more energy efficient, so it's an opportunity to go back and rebuild what has already been installed. We are becoming very quickly a mature marketplace. The smart home is no longer, full of greenfield the way that it was years ago, and so there is now an opportunity to go back to our customers and sell them the next generation of stuff. So, to that end, let's talk a little bit about the next generation of stuff. One of the things that we talk about at the Z-Wave board level on a very regular basis is our 5-year roadmap. And it's always at the bottom of the agenda, and we hardly ever get to it, but we do talk about it at least a couple of times a year. We try. But this is where I'm going to open it up to Abbottson and Mariusz, because the first half of this were their slides, and now, were my slides, and now this is their slides, so I'm going to let them do their thing. But the 5-year roadmap is something that we take very seriously at the board level. And again, hashtag participation, you as the members have complete control, and I do mean complete control, over the steering of that 5-year game plan. And so this is where I'm going to sit down in that chair, and other people are going to talk. Hey?
Hey, we didn't decide who's going to talk about this slide.
No, we didn't, but see, this is if you don't show up to the meeting when we have a rehearsal meeting, this is the way it works.
Maybe before we get into the details, like we showed, 60 billion, right? And that is what the number of potential IoT market.
Yes.
We should all challenge ourselves and see how much we can capture for Z-Wave, right? Let's say it's 10% or 5%, whatever it is. So, and what we missing, and what we need to do that in case we are missing something from a technical point of view, from the alliance. So think about it, 10% is how much? 6 billion revenue potentially, right? That should be a simple task we should all think about.
Yeah, we can split it 50-50, right? I like it.
I'm not getting in the middle of this.
No, so
Somebody start.
You can go ahead.
I can start with this one, right? Because I've been doing it for so long that it's almost, but it's pretty cool. I mean, nothing.
All right, you have a choice. Stand at the podium in the regular. I don't care which, but you got to do one or the other.
I like
think it's
walkie-talkie,
off.
Right?
Okay.
So again, we're really strong in sub-gigahertz, right? So we need to keep educating customers why sub-gigahertz is important, right? Yes, there is a beautiful thing about 2.4 being a global frequency that everybody can use, but 2.4 comes with its own bag of problems, right? So we're still focusing on sub-gigahertz. Are we talking to different alliances about different frequencies and running Z-Wave forward? The answer is yes, right? So if you have an idea, if there is KNX here, then maybe a way to run Z-Wave over KNX, use our application layer. Is it going to happen? I don't know. So again, innovate, SDO. It's us driving it. It's not Silicon Labs. It's not Trident only. It's us all driving the standard to the next level. You've heard me saying about this. Multi-vendor support, we have it, right? You can buy chips from Xylabs. You can buy chips from Trident. Great, right? Choice gives you more opportunities. Open source, right? We're so happy to have Nabucasa on board, on the Z-Wave Alliance board, to help us drive and take the Z-Wave standard to more open standards, right? So again, executing on that 5-year program. Interoperability, backwards compatibility, I think we've done pretty well there. I think, again, I'm going to stir some controversy here. Maybe it's time to forget about some older stuff. Again, just bringing it up, right? Do we need 9.6?
He's killing me.
All right? Again,
Yeah.
right? We should have those conversations. As we look at different market, maybe there is a market for Z-Wave long range only. Wow, nobody's throwing.
Yeah, I'm near that one.
Again, we Z-Wave Alliance are to decide. It's not up to Avi to say yes or no. It's to collectively to everybody on the Z-Wave Alliance.
Exactly.
To say maybe we need to go and talk to XYZ. Maybe we need to look at 2.4.
No.
But again, we'll hear you guys, and
1.8.
technical committee is the place to have those
Yeah.
conversations, right? So, we do excel in security. We can do better with UI and UX. Again, we're a technology, right? We don't have much to do with UI UX, right? But having good controller companies that can offer that to customers is super important, right? So us making it easier as chip suppliers, it's something that we'll do. And then this is what I know Abitson and I and Navi, we spend a lot of time. Where do we take Z-Wave next, right? We've done pretty well with the Z-Wave and secured in US, but there was so much more. There was MDUs, there was hospitality. We can take Z-Wave maybe to truckers. Now that we have long range, maybe we can do LoRa-ish type of deployments, right? So we go after agriculture and more stuff. Again, we're here to listen, and we as silicon vendors will support you guys, right? So if there is something specific that we need to add to the Z-Wave standard, like sending images over Z-Wave, I would not say no. Let's figure it out. A, if it's doable. 2, if there's customers that are adapted, and if they are, let's do it. But we'll not be able to do it ourselves. So again, #participate. You next.
Thank you. Okay, so this one I will, kind of cover what we have done, in the past 1.5 years when we started open source and SEO. I would say the left side is something we completed already. One thing I want to mention is, we are a young SEO. People are starting to, collaborate on various spec development. There is a very good example I wanted to point out, the user credential command class. That is a big collaborative effort between smart lock manufacturers in US. Several competitors, I would say, came together and defined that spec in the alliance. Then our open source team basically implemented it, along with collaboration, multiple vendors, some of them are competitions, we implemented that. That is a very good example, how the alliance should function. And we need all your collaboration and participation to do these things more and more. Right? You can see, let me cover the couple of more items there. I mentioned user credential class, command class is already done. Then we are taking security to the next level, right? Z-Wave is traditionally being very secure. We have seen from previous percentages. We are also introducing we already introduced the spec called S2v2 version 2, S2 version 2 basically. That means we are encrypting the network layer, we are enhancing the security. That spec is already completed. Long range EU spec is completed. You are seeing, actual software firmware is out there for customers to use and develop product. But anyway, that is on the spec level. And from certificate enablement, there are comments about PC controllers, if all those tools availability for you to use in your final solution. So those are also available in open source, and you could contribute and enhance and modify, add more capability to that. coming back to the participation, right? So we are putting the infrastructure out there for you to participate and contribute and make it better. Yes, that's a high level summary there. Then the last row, hardware patches enablement means, you can actually take the open source software and compile for actual hardware, basically, right? And you can test it also. So multiple vendors, including Equinox, as well as Trident IoT chips, are enabled for that kind of capability. So that is what we did in the last year, 2024. Now coming to 2024, let's start with the top level specification row. We are looking at energy harvesting, right? The regulations are getting stricter and stricter around, how the devices consume energy, right? And there is a large amount of throwaway batteries. If you look at its environmental hazard, right? There was some studies, tens of throwaway batteries, right? So this is something we are looking at. It's technically challenging, but this is where we need your participation, to spec it properly so we can implement it later. Then multiple command classes are also in the works. You have seen geolocation command class already in Eric's demo, which is transferring the GPS location. Then coming back to the certification part, I wanted to highlight product catalog. So this will allow you to see the product details around all the products we certify, including what is the range it supports, right? There was a question about can we see whether that product supports X number of range. So these kind of details you can get it from the product catalog. Then we're also looking into price certification. That means if you have a vendor which didn't want to provide stack, you can provide the hardware so that hardware can be certified. Then you can use open source stack on top of it, basically, right? So this will allow multiple silicon vendors to even come to the alliance, basically. Then the last one is estimating security implementation of the open source. Right? I told you the spec is done, but we are going to implement that in the open source as well, so people will be able to use it in the open source. Then maybe you wanted to comment on the.
Yeah, so what's super cool that Vincent mentioned, right? You can actually go to open source. You can download, switch on and off, and now we can pick if you want to run it on Trident hardware or Silence hardware. And you can compile it with 2 different tools, and you can run it on the platform. You don't hear that much in the other industries, or the other protocols, I should say, where it's that easy, right? Where you can take the code, application code, and run on 2 different chips, right? So that's super cool, right? There is a lot of work that was being done from Silence parts and us parts to make sure all that works, right? So play with that open source SDK. It's pretty cool. So I just want to add really quick on the TP21. We will have a multi-protocol solution by the end of the year, when you can run 2 protocols at the same time. That being 2 sub-gigahertz protocols, or 2.4 and sub-gigahertz. So that's a new part that's coming out from Trident. So just be on the lookout. We have a demo of a demonstration board here, so happy to show you guys. But I'm sure Stylabs is working on the next generation. You're going to see that Z-Wave is here to stay. We're here to innovate. And you are highly influencing the roadmap, right? So again, join the technical committee and help us to define the roadmap. That energy harvesting is super cool, but we need people to work on it, right? We need you guys to tell us the things that we're doing wrong. Are we challenging the energy harvesting? Do we really need S2 and QR codes, right? When you only have a couple microjoules of energy, right? There is already stuff out there on the market, rolling codes. Maybe there is a different S2A security that will be more battery friendly, right? We need to look at stuff like that to enable all those use cases.
Especially that we see our friends in Europe are about to
Abandon.
right, make unlawful the whole concept of non-rechargeable batteries.
Yep.
So now you've got other opportunities, right? If batteries become outlawed, we got to find another way. Unless you're going to put a little windmill on every door window sensor, which in certain circumstances.
It's a low energy answer.
Right? Exactly. We have a question, please.
I was wondering regarding the open source stack. We followed that a bit, and since there were a lot of stability fixes in the recent Silent SDKs, I was wondering where the open source stack is standing. Is it more on indicate some in between.
I'll let you take this
Are all
one.
those
Yeah.
contributed upstream or some missing?
Yeah, I mean, we are committed to making our stack synchronized to open source, so eventually all those things will be put into the open source. Julia, maybe you can provide some additional clarity when exactly it will be merged into the open source.
Yes, so we are not. Depending on the work we are doing, we have different timing from when we have changes. For example, on new feature, on what we did on EULR S2B2, we are starting our work in the open to get as much visibility for the customer and the developer to get feedback. Some other topics that are either closer to the Silicon Labs implementation or where we need more tests, those things will come after they hit the public Silicon Lab release.
At a high level, we contributed code, but we are committed to making it, continuously evolve over time, right? So I'm making sure our SDK and these are synchronized. It may not happen right away because it takes some more time to get into open source and, go through all the pull requests and everything. Okay. Yeah, maybe one more thing I want to.
Yeah, please.
So,
please.
these are the things we are working on today. We have, direct line of sight, right? But if you see something missing for the European market, specifically around the tools or, maybe KNX Bridge, whatever it is, right? This is the time to bring up so we can finalize our next year plans, right? So that can get into the work grouping and things like that, right? So think about what you wanted to do, bring up as a work item request.
And then participate, so there's somebody to work on that.
Yes.
Work.
The Z-Wave to KNX Bridge.
I'm just doing it now.
I'm telling you, it's
What-
gonna
what
happen.
it
There's
is,
no
what
doubt
makes sense
about
for
it.
the market. That's
So
all.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
actually got one more thing. Say someone wanted to build a tool that enables others to build controller software.
Controller software.
Yeah, currently you have to certify the whole UI with it, but if you don't have UI, what do you do then, right? If you look at Meta, for example, there are different certifications where you just certify the lower level stack part, and then can use the certified stack and build UI on top of that and just certify that.
So we are evolving, right? If you look at what was the certification standard for controllers 2 years ago, you had to certify everything, right? And you had to be based on zip gateway, right? We're already splitting the protocol certification into a chip certification, protocol certification, application layer certification, right? So there is more work that needs to happen there. Again, hashtag participate. You don't like something? Let's figure it out. Right now for controllers, you need UI. And that's where we differ than, Zigbee or others, right? For good or better, right? It is much easier to certify a Zigbee controller because, again, you don't have to comply with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but there's no interoperability, and there are
Correct.
lots of other issues that
Correct.
go on. So, I'll go up against the Zigbee certification any day of the week.
Yeah.
All right, but to your point, and to Mariusz's point, we are shifting, changing, splitting, making certain things easier so that there are opportunities, because we want the Z-Wave protocol to be used in a great many things, and we do want it to be certified, but there have always been struggles in certification in how much compatibility there is within a product. Going all the way back to the very beginning, I remember the debates we used to have. So the idea of a controller being certified, but not necessarily having the full stack in it, or not having the full user experience in it, to some of us guys that have been around a while is a little scary. To those of you who are new to the protocol, it's logical. So we have to find a common ground between us, and we're willing to do that. We're very willing to do that.
There's a supporting point to that as well, right? Is integrating controller solutions. We have identity apps without controller and we're certified together. However, we also open up our controllers for dealers to tech out. So they certify their own app separately. So there's a need for that. A good point.
So the Z. Oh, no.
I would say, Dominic, please bring up this topic into a work item request, that way we can, modularize the certification for controllers also, right? Yeah.
No, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so the Z-Wave Alliance actually put out a survey not too long ago where we sent a number of questions around. I think we've got 4 or 5 of them here in this presentation. The first one, and each one of them, excuse me, thank you. Each one of them, it's a little bit of an eye chart, but hopefully we can read them. Yeah, they don't look too bad on the big screen. They're actually worse over here. But rank features you'd like to see in Z-Wave protocol, first being the most desired and the last being the least desired. You'll notice, add mesh to Z-Wave long range, interestingly enough, was way up there. Z-Wave long range for Europe, yep, we got you, no problem. We can take that one off the list. The serial API routing override, right? Host processor provides routing for each command. Also ranked fairly high. A lot of people wanted that one. We're going to distribute these slides.
So basically from bottom, right? The highest value.
Yeah, the highest one is
that.
obvious.
Yeah.
We took care of that. Z-Wave,
Basically,
long
device
range
communicate better to each other.
Yeah,
that's an all kinds of
association.
code, yes.
right? Everybody wants association in Z-Wave long range. Okay, we get it. Yep. Right, but it's a point-to-point implementation, so can it be point-to-point if it's actually a star? Right, improve firmware testing, we've talked a lot about it. The purpose is not for me to read you this slide, because we're going to distribute these slides so you can take a look at it. In taking a look at what you see here, the purpose of showing you these slides is that if you have other ideas and you have different ideas about what the survey says, please get involved and, or even now, raise your hand, tell us something that you feel that this survey is not projecting for this market. This, by the way, the 30 responses all came from the EU marketplace, right? So this is, these questions were posed to EU members. So there is no American or Asian bias in here. These are strictly European questions. So, rank the features you like to see in the Z-Wave hardware firmware, first being most desired, last being least desired. As you can see, more flash, and this is for my hardware manufacturer.
Oh, yeah, more flash,
There you
more
go.
Oh, yes, exactly.
More flash, right?
Our ET28 has a lot of flash.
Exactly.
So-
All right, so everybody's working on
And
that.
cheaper, of course.
Yeah, right, cheaper price, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Lower, right, so you want more stuff for less money.
Yeah, of course.
There you go, yeah, like we haven't heard that 1,000 times
It
before.
shows dollar plus.
Right, exactly.
More, it's gonna be small.
And then the watchdog. So we did talk a little bit about this when we had our session this morning about the watchdog, because the watchdog is obviously going to tell you whether or not the signals are coming through cleanly. In the security world, right, watchdogs are very important because we know whether or not we're being jammed. Z-Wave inherently doesn't have a watchdog built into it, so a lot of people are requesting that. Fewer hardware features so that you can get a cheaper chip. Again, I'll refer to these two guys over here, right? But again, not that I'm reading you these slides, the purpose of this is to share the fact that one, the Z-Wave Alliance is very engaged in the process of reaching out to our members to understand what you're looking for and what's important to you. And two, this is 30 responses. It's not exactly statistically completely relevant, although we only have about 220, what's the number? I always forget how many members we have.
We're just under 200.
Just under 200 right now? Okay. So 30 is, coming up on statistically relevant. But we want to hear from you again. Rank features you'd like to see in the Z-Wave software development tools, first being the most important. So open source sniffer and PC controller, we heard you, it's done, it's ready, but it needs participation. How does it get deployed? How does it get sent out? How does it get packaged? Where does it end up? Whose USB stick does it run on? And how does it get implemented in the field? These are important questions that have to be answered by the committees. Single click SDK upgrade. Then I'm gonna done. There you go. See, sorry, all right. But again, there's a whole bunch of these, and these slides will be available to you on the share drive after the sessions are done. So probably by tomorrow morning, when Pete gets around to migrating them up to the Google Drive, we'll get them there. And finally, rank features you do not use, so that we know that we can take them out. The machine learning module. Guys, slay me. You may have heard of this little thing called AI. Maybe that they may caught some of your attention. So I'm not quite sure why the machine learning module ranks so low. But the good news here is that it tells us, all right, so maybe AI is not a thing for us yet. or you're leveraging AI tools and machine learning tools from other places right now, and we can prioritize different features within the Z-Wave protocol. So it's very important. So the last thing I was going to say, the programming note. Slides are being shared. Programming note. This is why you should say it when you think of it, and not later on. Okay. Questions. This is we're rounding the horn here, but I wanted to give everybody opportunity, Gesundheit, to ask questions or bring up topics about future, roadmap, protocol. This is your opportunity. We've got the two experts sitting up here. If there are questions from the crowd, please.
Peter.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. How do you see the future of multi-protocol chips? As I see that we will have a lot of idea, we're seeing also from other protocols to coming guided, but how do you see in case of Z-Wave?
Maybe I can take that first one.
Go.
So we already have a product with the CG28 which will support 2.4 sub-gigahertz, right? So when you look at IoT space, I would say there are several protocols, right? And I would say there are two kind of customers. One is people like us, you know, the people here, right, who make the actual product for end consumption. Right? In that case, they may want to create a product that will support Z-Wave or Amazon Sidewalk or, you know, you name it, whatever thing, right? And if you can come up with a single design which will handle both, it's a win for you guys, right? Then as a consumer, when you take the product home, they may have a certain ecosystem. Maybe they have multiple ecosystems, right? And then they can connect to whichever ecosystem they like. So it has value in both for product manufacturers as well as consumers. And that's why we are looking at most of our products coming up is basically multi-protocol based. And which combination of permutation, that's something we can decide. What is the best one to align with the maybe Z-Wave plus BLE, which is supported on the CG28. I heard people like BLE commissioning for whatever reason. Even though Z-Wave has a very strong commissioning option, sometimes people prefer because maybe it can connect to the phone or whatever reason. That's possible with the the upcoming chips, the CG28 chip already basically. So I think Trident has a similar
Yeah, so what we can do is the same what they do, just better. No, but couple
Now,
use cases.
boys, don't make me have to separate you.
We're good friends. We're gonna have a drink after all. No, so we believe really strongly in multi-protocol, right? For a number of reasons. Again, our SDK is built with developers and installers in mind. So imagine a scenario where your primary radio doesn't work. Now we can switch to a secondary radio, right? Having that option is super, super important. Think about being able to commission your network really quick. Yes, S2 is great, Smart Star is great, but it's not so great when you have 30 devices and you're trying it to commission. Wouldn't it be easier just to scan, connect over Bluetooth, done, okay? Or different mechanism, right? So those are the things that we are building into our SDK to make sure that it solves all these use cases, right? Easier to deploy, easier to design, easier to troubleshoot, right, with our command line interface.
Great. All right, I remember my two programming notes. I'm going to say them while we're looking for the next question. One, Causeway. How many of you have an account on Causeway? Okay. I see a lot of blank stares in the room who don't even know what Causeway exactly. What's Causeway? Okay, so the Z-Wave Alliance does have a collaboration tool that houses all of the documentation from the Alliance, right? So this is not the GitHub, this is not the software. This is the mechanism and collaboration tool for all of you to be able to understand the calendar, when the meetings are, to participate in the meetings, to read the files and the notes, the action items from each one of the meetings. So I would recommend each of you go on the Z-Wave Alliance website, sign up for a login. You will get a login for Causeway. We hold regular trainings on Causeway because it's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but there's a lot of information there.
Yeah.
So even though it's not the most user-friendly, you're all engineers. If I really have to teach you guys how to use software, then you have a different problem. But Causeway is a very important thing, especially for those of you who want to join committees. The calendar for every committee meeting is on Causeway. Your ability to join every committee is through Causeway. So you request to join a committee, the committee chair checks a box, you start getting all of the digest emails and all of the calendar calls for those particular committees. So Causeway is very important, so please take a look at Causeway. The last question I have for you is a little bit of a survey. IFA, the IFA show that happens in September. How many of you, by a show of hands, participate in the IFA show?
As a,
One. Well, Leon, you enjoy that show because I can tell you, none of us are going to be there. There you go.
yeah.
You just solved a huge problem that I had because it happens over the same 3 days as CEDIA, and I couldn't decide how to get between the two shows. But if none of you were there,
Yeah.
then none of us have to be there. Okay, so it's not an important show for you as integrators, manufacturers. You do not participate in IFA. Very consumer.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, so following up on that question,
Yeah.
what matters for the US,
For the European,
market?
yeah, what shows do you participate in?
It's a great.
All right, Light and Building,
Nothing.
Wireless Congress,
None of them, as I see.
Ice Age? Oh, wait, that's a show I haven't heard of. ISH?
HVAC in Europe.
HVAC in Europe? ISH? Same? Embedded World, yeah, Embedded World. So Embedded World, Wireless Congress, and Electronica. So the good news on those two is they happen on the opposite years. Only Europe can sustain shows every other year. If we did that in America, everybody would forget that the show existed. Nobody would
Light
come.
and building. Yeah.
So Light and Building's every other, and then
Light and
Electronica.
building exchanging with AIHS.
AIHS.
Intelligence is beginning. I
IHS.
IHS.
It's exchanging with the light and building.
Oh, so Light and Building is changing their name?
Yeah.
Oh, they do it the opposite years.
Yes.
Okay, they do it the opposite years.
not to
Right,
Yeah.
to do the same one, okay. It's like, because I was at Wireless Congress this past October, and there's a huge trade show behind it that they didn't even say, they asked me to speak. So we talked about Z-Wave long range at Wireless Congress, and I show up, and it's a huge hall in Munich. And there's thousands and thousands of booths and thousands of square meters of, I had no idea Electronica even existed. One of the coolest shows I've ever been to, by the way. I don't know if you've ever gone, I don't know if it's a thing for you folks, but me as somebody who does a lot of manufacturing, it was a really cool show. What else? What other trade events? Who comes to Mobile World? Anybody coming back to Barcelona next week? Thanks, Shay. You just hanging out?
I've been here in ISV.
Oh, okay. All right. ISE, I'm assuming most of you were here for ISE this week? Right? Yeah? Okay. Good. All right. What other trade events? Are we missing any? CEDIA. Yeah, CEDIA you'll come to me for. That's an easy one. It's in Denver this year, and then don't even get me started. Las Vegas after that. I think it's 2 years Denver, and then we're in Las Vegas in 3 years, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna put a bullet in my head. It's just so I need another trip to Vegas. All right. So any other trade shows? I know there's you have Securitech, you have the Essence show in security. There's the one up in it's Manchester. What's the one in England? Birmingham, IFSA, right? IFSEC, right? Anybody do IFSEC?
I mean, on my is in Birmingham.
It's in Birmingham, right? Okay.
It's like an hour
It's a
away
train
from
ride,
there.
yeah. Trust me, if there was a trade show, there's a train ride away from me, I'd do it too. The next time they have a trade show in Washington D.C., I'll let you know. Okay, cool. All right, we covered our slides, we covered our roadmap.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Yes, sir, please.
So this, I guess yesterday I learned there was a Z-Rad Mini. Is there any publication to be made about that and any more plans for reference designs for small?
Absolutely. Yes, the doctor is in, and he's putting that together. That's an interesting point, and
It's coming.
it's coming. And that is an interesting point, and something that is different at the Alliance. You folks should know, Eric is a contractor with the Alliance, and the Alliance contracts him to build these reference designs. And there will be a series of reference designs that he's going to put together for us, because again, the Alliance is trying to be as chip agnostic, right, as silicon agnostic as we can, but still help the members. Traditionally, our manufacturer overlords, right, would do reference designs using their chips and put them out through the Alliance. We don't have manufacturer overlords anymore. We're a separate group. And so if you have a great idea, for a reference design, we'd love to hear about that as well at the Alliance level. If it's something that appeals to a large swath of the membership, the Alliance definitely has budget to be able to do those kinds of things to further ease the development cycles of products within the protocol. So if you've got ideas for that, please let us know. All right. It
So,
is.
real quick, just,
Yeah, please.
So the main purpose of ZRAD is really to give people a complete end-to-end, here's how to make a product. So using ZRAD, and I hope it also helps out the manufacturers or the silicon providers to say, wow, there's a lot of steps to get from point A to point B. So instead of providing documentation that is a dictionary, which is what a lot of the documentation is, I give you the short story version of how to get from point A to point B.
Right. And the Alliance is very glad to supply that material.
You said there's more coming. What's the list?
No. See, that's not the way this works. No. You tell me what's next. That's,
Device with PCB antenna.
yeah? You want a PCB antenna for long range?
End devices.
Why not?
The Mini has
And they're often bad.
Well, that's the purpose of the Mini. The Mini gets rid of the stalk. Yeah.
I can be controversial again.
No, wait, before you do that,
and then the question
there's a really cool company here in Barcelona called Ignion. Everybody heard about Ignion? All right? Ignion is a phenomenal company. They do digital antennas. They do digital twinning of antennas. They have the coolest software I've ever seen when it comes to RF design. You want a long-range PCB antenna, go talk to the guys at Ignion and they'll design one for you.
I want good end devices to work with.
Yeah, well, you and me both, brother. That's a different problem. We have to get the manufacturers to,
I am working with Avion to put
Yes.
on a ZRAD, another flavor of ZRAD. So that is,
exactly. So if the reference design has it, then the end node device will be that much better.
and then there's other silicon providers that we could put a board on.
There certainly are. Go ahead, be controversial.
I mean, so I'm just gonna be, spitballing because, again, I'm Polish, I'm not very polished. So, why are we doing this, right? Why is not silent, or we have reference designs that are pretty good, right? Both between Silicon Labs and ourselves.
Yes.
Okay,
So
why-
I'll
You-
answer that question.
Yeah, really.
From my perspective, again, the real problem is that you guys are making developers kits,
correct.
and there's a huge difference between what a customer is going to put together. So when you go down that flow, the reference designs all have, stacked boards, and they have all this stuff, and they have a WSTK measuring power, and they have a debugger, and all these other things. Our products don't have any of that stuff on it.
Yeah, they also don't have that big antenna, right?
It's
Let's agree that we.
I don't have one,
Again,
so both
you're
pretty.
stir up conversation. No. So I did it for two reasons, right? One is solicit your feedback. Two, because we are we are silent. No. Both companies have reference designs, right? And if they don't match to what you guys need to be successful, go and talk to us, right?
Yeah.
We at Trident are making a reference design of the window sensors with long range that we just tested, and they 4,000 feet with coin cells. Okay? Come and talk to us. Sure, startups will do it the same,
I
right?
can add something to that, right? When we do development kits, this is for generate, right? It's not meant for any particular product.
Yeah.
But when you go to customer, they're making 1,000 different products. And each one have its own schematic, its own antenna layout, things like that, right? So to address that, we have a service, like you can review schematics and layout with our supporting, basically. That's what I would recommend before defining your product. hardware support team, they can review it and make sure it's all the right way. Because to create a development kit to support a variation of hundreds of products is not meaningful, right? So we focus on deeper capabilities and things like that on the development.
No, and that's exactly why the Alliance has commissioned Dr. Z-Wave to put some references lines together for us, because first of all, they can't skin every cat, right? There's thousands and thousands of different things, and so we're doing it to support, and it's also, look, they're in this to make money, and I don't blame them for it. That's what they're here for, and so their reference designs are going to be about making sales of their devices. The Alliance, we just want designs out there. We want to be agnostic as possible, and so the idea is just to stimulate idea and stimulate development within our membership without taking sides, and so that's what we're attempting to do. It's a different world for us as well, right? Being an SDO is a completely different experience than it was when we were part of a manufacturer, and so we're trying to thread that needle, but it does take the participation, there it is again, of our members to make sure that we're meeting the needs and meeting the goals, and that we're taking in the ideas just as much from you folks as we are getting. So with that, any other questions before we, are we ready in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good? Awesome. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You've done it. You've succeeded. You have managed to live through a day and a half of me talking at you. I very much appreciate your time, your effort, the sacrifice that you made to be here. Some of you came from very long distances, it turns out. We had no idea that people would be coming all the way from places like Malaysia and Singapore for this event. We will absolutely, we are thrilled to have filled this room. This has far exceeded the expectations that we had for the first EMEA summit in many, many years. We can't wait to do it again next year. I hope that all of you will come. And by the way, you'll all bring some marketing people as well. We are very slanted in this room towards technical, but that does not mean that there were not really great conversations we could have had with your marketing people as well. And we very much look forward to the opportunity to meet with those folks also. Again, you all know me. My name is Avi Rosenthal, and I'm proud to be the chair of the Z-Wave Alliance. If there's anything that I can do for you, please feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on LinkedIn or email. We're always here to support you. There's a number of other board members in the room here with us as well, and each of them are here to support you. This is a member-driven opportunity. This is a member-driven alliance. So the opportunities are for you to get involved and participate. It's very important that you participate. What will stop people from saying, is Z-Wave dead? Is all about people participating in the alliance. And I thank you very much for being here. And I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors, right? ADT, Alarm.com, MKLogix, NICE, the Open Home Foundation, Shelley, Trident, and of course Silicon Labs, who had the forethought to give us wings and to allow us to be out in the wild. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I appreciate each and every one of you. Can't wait to see you again next year or at the next trade event. With that, the drinks are on me.
Thank you.